I'm on my way to interview an owner of an interesting car. I'm on my way to Ringwood Hill Climb to interview Allan about his TR7. Now Ringwood's about an hour and a half up the road, so I'll see you then. No, I'm not performing any U-turns. I'm here talking to Allan about his Triumph TR7 that he uses for hill climbs. Now, how long have you owned this car?
Just over 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Now, you use it for hill climbs, but it's a standard TR7.
It is, yeah.
So we're talking a 2-litre, 2-valve engine?
That's correct, yeah.
5-speed gearbox?
Yeah.
Open diff?
Yeah.
Brakes are all original?
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Now, in 10 years, how's that panned out for breakdowns?
For?
Breaking down, playing up?
It's been pretty reliable. I had one electrical issue that took me about 3 months to track down. It was intermittent.
Right.
And it turned out to be the only cable that I didn't check. And it was the cable that runs from the starter solenoid to the coil and gives it the 12 volts when you crank it up.
Yep.
And so normally it would only come into play when you're running it, but what happened, it sort of come loose and it was swinging and it would earth on the body when I went around the corner. And just pinch the current from the coil. So you'd be going round a roundabout and all of a sudden it would just cut out. Yeah.
Look, I've owned a TR7 for over 30 years and it hasn't really played up that much. It had one tricky thing. It took off all by itself.
Yeah.
It'd just be sitting there and go, "Urgh." The starter motor somehow shorted out and it would, it was in first gear. It just,
yeah.
Anyway, that's another story. Now, when you're using this for hill climbs, so is that what you're going to continue using it for, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I like the hill climbs. This is my local circuit. I'm involved with the MG Car Club and maintaining the circuit, and I don't need to trailer it or whatever. I just bring it out. It's about half an hour out from home, and have a run and drive back home again. Yeah, it's great.
Now TR7s are sort of the ugly duckling of the TR7s in a TR run that a lot of people think. But I think they're a wonderful car actually.
Yeah.
How do you find the brakes on these? They're pretty ordinary.
I mean, I guess for its age, what do you expect? I mean, I've never really, driven hot competition cars or whatever. It's always
hill climbs. You wouldn't be worried too much about brakes.
Well, actually, funny you should say that, but I made up more time by using the brakes than I did by trying to use the power. Yeah. Because in the scheme of things, especially with the modern cars, it's not that powerful. And you're up against 4-valve per cylinder, little hatches and that sort of thing, in the class that I run in. And so I haven't got the performance to match those. So I'd probably make up more time under the brakes than I do from the accelerator.
Now, when you were deciding to buy a car to use for hill climbs or just to have, what led you to the TR7 rather than, say, a Ford Escort or something?
Okay. Well, I always wanted a project car, I guess, and the kids said to me, well, you better get one before you're too old to get in and out of it. But see, I'm an ex-Leyland UK employee, And I worked at the Speak factory where these were manufactured, and I helped put in the manufacturing facilities for the soft top V8. So I was working as a project engineer at that stage.
Yep.
And yeah, so I used to watch all these brand new TR7s come off the line.
Yep.
I could never afford one in those days, you know. So I always had a bit of a soft spot for them, I guess, for that reason.
Yeah.
And I've always been a bit of a Triumph man. I've had a Herald, a Toledo, which is the English two-door version of the Dolomite.
Yeah.
And this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yep. Now, how do you go getting in and out of TR7s? I usually have to instruct people on how to get in. You know, is it bum first onto the sill and legs in next? Hit your head on the pillar?
I actually don't find this too difficult. I usually sit on the seat first and then just swing my legs in. Yeah. And I generally put the helmet on when I'm in the car.
It's hitting your head on the roof bit that I've done a few times. Yeah. That and the part of the door that goes back, and sometimes when you shut it, you bang yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you know, now TR7s have a pop-up headlight. Now they're known for playing up. Have you ever had a problem with that?
Yeah. I've spent many hours troubleshooting the headlamps.
Yep.
And I mean, you get a wiring diagram, but of course it doesn't tell you functionally how it works. So I went through and I produced a full functional operating diagram to use for diagnostics, and then it's just a matter of going through and working out.
Yeah.
And at least it's relays and cables that I can understand.
Yeah.
Not all this modern electronic stuff where you need a computer to log in. So that's the good thing about the TR7.
Yeah.
It's basically everything I can work on myself.
Now, how do you go for parts for these? I know I own a Toyota that I can't buy parts for. Whereby my Triumphs, I just sort of get on the internet and pretty well buy what I want.
Well, I mean, because it's been so reliable, I haven't had to buy much for it since I basically rebuilt it.
Yeah.
But I had no issues getting parts for it at all. When I bought it, it'd been off the road for 12 years, so I had to mechanically recommission it. Completely.
Well, everything rubber and everything all goes.
Yeah. All, everything rubber. All the O-rings. Rebuilt the gearbox. But I got the parts all out of Rimmer Brothers at those days, and they'd be here within a week.
Yeah. I know, a week and a day. It's like clockwork. A week and a day.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing, and relatively competitively priced.
Yeah.
You get specialists in Australia, you pay a bit extra, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I never used the internet to buy things until, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted springs and shock absorbers for the TR7.
Yeah.
And the Australian agent wanted over $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought exactly the same components out of Rimmer Brothers and on my doorstep for $450.
Yeah.
That was when we had a good exchange rate and what have you.
Yeah.
And from then on, I thought, what am I buying stuff locally for?
Yeah. Well, I put new rear shockers on this. The struts, to my knowledge, are still original.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But trying to source the dampers, I did have a little bit of an issue. But I took the old damper out. And we got a guy in the car club, Jeff Thomas. He's a bit of a Triumph man too.
Yeah.
And he's got his own business, Revolution Race Gear, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So I took my old damper in, and he measured the extended lengths and the compressed lengths and.
So what did you end up with? What did you buy in the end?
They're just a standard. They're not adjustable, so they're a standard rating. Can't remember the make of them now, but it is sort of equivalent of a sort of a Coney type thing. Yeah, and he went through all the catalogues and worked out.
Right.
Yeah,
he's good that way.
The only issue I had after quite a while, I was inspecting the car one day, you know, prior to doing a hill climb, and I noticed that the back spring had lifted off the seat.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was obviously getting a bit too much travel.
Yeah.
And it was only about 10mm.
Yeah.
So I reckon it was after doing a hill climb here, because it quite often lifts the back wheel at the top corner.
Yeah.
And but I just realigned it all, and I put some cable ties round just to hold the spring.
Yeah, hold it in place.
Yeah, to the bottom link, bottom arm, and it's been fine ever since.
Well, thank you very much for our little chat about the TR7.
Oh, it's good.
I'm Quack McMullard. Bye for now.